Happy New Year! Welcome back. Yeah, we're back. I'm back. No dramas. They should always say, however, you should never start a video with an apology. So brace yourself, because here it comes. I'm sorry. I've done a little bit of work without you on the car. Like, I know, all right, okay. Look, I know, all right. I can, look, I understand, I hear you. Just please, look, sit back down. There's no need to be like, Sanjeev, please. Let me explain. After the holiday period, I had all intents and purposes getting stuck into it as much as possible. However, work did quite ramp up and things got a little bit exciting. And I got stuck in a rut. And the only time that I had to work on the car really was an odd 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour at the end of a day, a couple of times a week, if I was lucky. So, I was stuck in a sort of Bermuda Triangle of inactivity, if you will, where I didn't have enough time to work on it properly, and so ergo I didn't have enough time to film it properly, and then decided, well, if I haven't got enough time to work in it or film it properly, there's no point me doing it because I'm supposed to be documenting this for you guys as well. So I was stuck in this bloody loop where I couldn't really do anything, and I reached a bit of a head the other day where I thought, right, do you know what? Sod the whole lot. I'm gonna do and take what minutes I've got, and I'm gonna do what I can, and then I'll keep you guys updated, rather than not do anything. So I do apologise, and I hope that clears the air. So today, I'm going to talk about what I've done, how I did it, why I did it, and then I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do today, and then we'll do a bit of that, and then at the end, I'll talk about what we're going to do next week. So, without further ado, my name's Frank, this is Budget Home Classics. Pause this now, go and stick the kettle on, grab a cup of tea, grab a couple of biscuits, and I'll meet you over by the car. Oh, free. Nice tidy workspace as usual. So, what I wanted to attack first was the gearbox. The gear selector was working, but not quite right. And I had a look underneath it and I could see some Mickey Mouse, like a throttle return spring that had been cable tied to the gear linkage in some sort of fashion. And I thought, well, that doesn't look factory, it doesn't look right. So I decided. Another thing as well was there was quite a significant oil leak on the engine, back of the engine, and on the gearbox as well. So I thought, right, well, I'm going to have to get it off anyway to fix the gear linkage. So I thought, we'll start there. And then at the same time, I decided to go and get some parts. Right, okay, before you, I don't like buying new parts at all if I can help it. Usually my mantra is to reduce, reuse, recycle, guys. But if I can repair something, take it apart, find out what's wrong, replace that one part, put it back together, that's what I'm about. That's what I love doing. That's the best part of the hobby for me, is making stuff work that hasn't worked for nearly 50 years. But there are going to be parts. If you're doing a project at home, or if you're like me and you haven't got a clue what you're doing, there are some things that are going to need to be replaced, right? And it's not necessarily consumables, but perishables. Rubber, so hoses, radiator hoses, coolant hoses, wheel bearings, things that are moving, CV joints, stuff like that, that I'm not feasibly going to be able to repair myself, and it'll just be easier and less time consuming if I just went and got some. So I decided to come up with a bit of a list, right? And on this list was a set of radiator hoses, because I thought, yeah, there's metal ones, there's U-bends, there's round swirly doodahs. I thought I could make all that, but then I thought, for the price of it and the time it's going to take me to do it, I'll get some. So radiator hose set. Boom, happy with that. The second thing I wanted was, you remember the headlight cowlings, the back plates for the headlights? They'd all rusted away. A couple of videos I did a bit of a shout out, a bit of a cry for help. Couldn't find any anywhere. for love nor money, and the ones that I could do were like 30 odd quid each, and I need 4 of the bloody things. So that was on my list, 4 of those. And then I wanted a rear main oil seal for the gearbox, rear main oil seal for the engine, and I wanted some bushings for the gear linkage. Bushings, a little bit of plastic, like a plastic cylinder that the metal rod sits in, and all it does is just stop it from rattling. Takes up that play so that, you know, because you want it to be accurate on that gear change. You want to be able to feel it going into gear. You don't want it to be, you know, stirring porridge while you're trying to find the gear. So those were my 5. That was my list of 5. There's 2 places in the UK. There could be more, but there's 2 main guys. And one's QRG, who I have got some stuff from in the past. They're pretty good. And there's Graham Walker Limited, right? Graham Walker Limited, they were the original company when Reliant disintegrated, I suppose, that gained the rights to continue trading and continue the supply parts supplying. And they've been doing it for over 40 years and 40 minutes away from me. So I thought I'd be a fool, I'd be an absolute fool if I didn't go down. So I had my little list, I got in my clapped out Audi and I drove down to go and see Graham Walker. What a guy, a lovely set of people, honestly, so accommodating, wonderful. Walked in, massive showroom on the ground floor, modern, old, classic, rare cars as well, all sorts, a huge array of stuff. And because I walked up to the place, I thought, am I in the right bloody place? Because there's like Subarus and all sorts of stuff. And I walked in, and above the showroom, he's got on the first floor is like a walk-up staircase, and then a whole workshop. He's got a Reliant Scimitar. He's got a few other different bits in there. Fantastic. Anyway, he was doing one of these, a 1972 SE5, so the model before mine, and it was embarrassingly good. It was. I don't even want to talk about it, actually. Put me to shame. I didn't even want to look at it. Wonderful. Top guy, really helpful. And I managed to get everything on my list. I got the radiator hose set, complete full set, everything. 100 quid. And then I got all the headlight cowlings. They were £24 each, which was cheaper than I could find anywhere else. And they're all they're really actually quite well made. And the back plates are plastic now because they said they were sick of selling the metal ones because they just always rusted. So that's another 100 quid. And the 2 oil seals, which were a few quid, not that much. The parts I didn't get were the gear linkage, although they're a little bit of plastic, and he was very apologetic. They're 40 quid before VAT, before tax. So I said, look, I'm going to have to remortgage the house anyway for these, so we'll leave the gear linkages. I can't do another 40, 50 quid. So I said, I'll take them out, I'll get some pictures, and I'll see if I can make some. Oh, love a cup of tea. Right, come on. I'll show you what I've done then. Because I've took the gearbox off to address the gear linkage issue and to get at the pressure plate and the clutch, because I want to have a look at the clutch as well. So I'll show you what I've done. Come on. Right, so here we are. So when I got the gearbox off, it could go forward and backward, which is that arm there. As you can see, rotational there, rotation there into the box. But side to side it would not have. It's a bit difficult one-handed, but there we go, you can see. So it pivots on this, pivots here, where there's a small adjustment, pivots here, here into the box. And on this here, to back on this hole from this corner, was a throttle return spring that had been crudely Mickey Moused in there to aid in returning it. Now I oiled this, I broke all these clips getting them off. They're like a weird C-clip thing. I'm going to have to give Graham a ring and get some of those. And there's 2 smaller ones I think behind here which I need to get. Oiled this, took it off, couldn't work it out. Oiled this, oiled these, couldn't work it out. it was this badger down here. This was so well, not corroded, but it had like, it was like an alley and steel rust for some reason, and it was rock solid. Had to take it off, get it in the vise, oil it up, and give it a good old whip whap, and it was fine. So that all works hunky dory now. To get the gearbox off was 6 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all accessible from down here. Easy peasy. The top 2 you can get through from the top side of the engine with a spanner, and these you can get with a ratchet and a long bar. All those bolts are facing towards the direction of travel. There are 2 which were bolting the starter motor in, and they were coming this way. They were awkward to get. You have to reach in between the exhaust manifold with a ratchet to undo both of those. The only thing that and there was 4 bolts back here, which were the sort of rear rubber mounting strut. The only things that will hang you up apart from those bolts are the speedo, which I found to my cost when I had a gearbox in my arms, and the clutch feed, which I then found out subsequently as then I had the gearbox in my arms. Absolute nightmare. And it's quite difficult because the slave is pressed into the bell housing, so you have to undo the main. That means bleeding it all again, but I need to get a rubber gaiter for that as well. Oh, okay. Maybe I just need to, I might need to take that apart and have a look at that. Well, that's what it's all about. So next, for today, I'm going to get the pressure plate off. Oh, in fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to have a look at this. I want to feel the thrust bearing, which feels like bloody new, actually. It feels really good. So as you depress the clutch, yep, it moves this arm, yep, and pushes this bearing up against this pressure plate, right? And this flexes in and out, and this engages or disengages the clutch. So your flywheel will be moving all the time, but it's the inner, this clutch part, which I'll take apart and I'll show you, which is attached to this spline here. And that's what engages the gear, that pressure plate. So when it's off, it's engaged. When you press the clutch, that bearing sits against this and pushes it in and disengages the clutch so it can move freely. So what I want to do, bearing feels great. I'm going to try each gear sequentially, move this around, feeling for little bits and bobs. I'm not feeling for huge. I'm not going to feel a lot, because with these gearboxes, or any gearbox actually, you won't notice anything until you're at speed. You'll hear a whine, or you'll feel things struggling to go into gear or struggling to come out of gear. With these, I know there's a tendency on second gear. They don't like staying in second gear once they start to wear. But what I can do by doing that is I can feel anything big, or if there's anything very wrong, I will be able to feel that by turning each gear over by hand. So if there's any teeth missing, or if there's anything in there that shouldn't be, like some Lego or Meccano or somebody's fingers, then we'll find out before I'm at speed, which is always nice, you know what I mean? Nobody likes a lockup on the motorway. Once I've done that, pressure plate off, and I want to have a look at the clutch, because all the things that I'm finding on this are age related. I mean, okay, yeah, come on, Frank, it's 50 years old. Yeah, it is. But it's been sat and as far as I can see, it's been sat for almost 20 years. This has been sat still for a long time. So I want to have a look at that clutch, because if it is worn down, there's a tendency for the metal frame to seize to the flywheel, and I need to have a look at the condition of the flywheel as well, because if that's all pitted, it's not going to grip the clutch well enough. Anyway, I'm chatting now. I'm chatting pure arse. So I'm going to get on with that, and I'll show you as I go. Where'd I put my bloody glove? feel like Michael Jackson walking around with one on. Oh, it's down there. Right, okay. So I'm quite happy with the gear linkage now. So it's first, second, third, fourth, and there should be a reverse in there somewhere. There we go, that's reverse. We'll try that one first. Okay, again, I'm feeling for any big lumps or anything stopping or clunks or grinds. While this is off, it's easier to drain it and replace the fluid as well before I put it back in. Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. It feels lovely. It feels great. There's nothing, there's no resistance changing gear. Oh, yeah, it's good. Feels really good. I replaced the bushings, which I'll take off and show you now, with, all they are is a plastic little piece of rubber, and I managed to make some myself. I know you probably can't see that on the camera. They sit inside this hole, and all they do is just take up the play so that your gear changes are smooth and there's no rattling or moving of the gear stick while you're trying to change gear. Perfect. Now, I'm quite happy with that. The thrust washer feels new. It's good practice to replace them anyway, but again, it's all money, guys, and it's money I don't have, especially after spending like my mortgage on radiator hoses and stuff for headlights. So there we go. I don't know what Princess Anne's doing today. She used to have loads of these. Well, not at the same time, but I think she owned 7 in her time, you know. She was a big fan. Even after Reliant disintegrated, there was another company that took it over and made a new iteration of it. I think it was like the SE5 or something like that. She had one of them. She was the 5th person to purchase one. I think they only made about 70 of them, 70 odd. Didn't do very well. Yeah. The bolts, the washers, never forget the washers. I know it's easy to get lazy. My dad never uses washers and it gives me anxiety. Oh, shite. Let's pry her off. Okay, clutch. Oh yeah, I forgot about the dowels. It sits on metal dowels and then you bolt it in. Clutch, please. It's not bad. I mean, it's not new, but it's not bare metal, you know what I mean? There's plenty on that. Happy so far. Let's get this off. Come on, lad. Oh. Come on. Oh. Whew. Right, so that's the pressure plate. I'll set you back so you can see. So, this is the flywheel, that's the back of the engine. That turns constantly with the engine as it's running, right? But sandwiched up against, bolted to that, is this, which is the pressure plate. And that spins with that. However, in between this and that, there's something called the clutch. And that sits on there, like that. And then that bolts up to there. Now, things to note on these, you're looking for good, like you would on a brake pad, you want to see quite a lot of fabric there. If you see any metal, or this is ground down to the metal on here, this needs replacing regardless. Same again on the pressure plate. You want to check this face. You can see it's pitted, it's rusted a little bit. I need to clean that off as best as I can, otherwise it's just going to eat the clutch. So I'll clean that up as best as I can, and you want to ensure that all of these aren't malformed, I suppose. There's not one or two that are too bent in. They're all uniform and similar and the same, to make sure that they're doing their job properly. And lastly, the thrust washer. This, when it's in contact with that pressure plate, will be spinning under pressure, under load. So you want to feel that, press hard against it and roll it around as much as you can, and you want to feel that bearing. If there's any grinding, or if it feels like there's a little bit of grit or sand in there, or it feels bumpy or wobbly, it's junk, get rid of it. They're pretty cheap. Usually when you get a new clutch, it all comes as a set. You get one of these, get one of them, and a new clutch as well. But yeah, they're not cheap, but you can just buy a new clutch and just swap them out. As long as you've got a good bearing, you'll be sound. Okay. Right. Tell you what, before I take that off, I'll show you guys what I've seen. So on the bottom of here is a significant oil leak. Now, upon closer inspection, I thought it might be this back here, but this looks pretty good. And the vast majority of what I can see is coming from here and this area here. So whether or not I could use some new gaskets in the overdrive and at the back of the gearbox, potentially. So I'm at that point where I know what I want to do, and I don't want to do it because everyone knows. If you're watching, you've worked on a car before. One job can turn into 10 jobs, can turn into 15 jobs. Right. I'm quite conscious about taking the gearbox to pieces just at the minute, because I have a rear seal for it, but I don't have the gasket set. So I'm going to hang slack until I can do all of it, I think, rather than just change the rear seal. Because now it's off, I can see it's not leaking from there. So I'm a little bit tentative to start taking it apart when I haven't got the correct stuff to put it back together. So I'm going to take the flywheel off because I need to get at the rear oil seal on this. These are... the flywheel bolts, there's 6 of them. They're 12 points rather than the conventional normal ratchet fucking thing. And these will be Loctited in. And it's a 14, or modern equivalent of a 14. And they're going to be tight. I'm trying to jam the flywheel with this thing, this screwdriver, this flathead. With any luck, it should get me through, but no, it's just moving the whole engine up. What do I do there? Unless I get a bolt on the end of the crank, stop it turning, potentially. Bit of a faff. I've got some squiddy juice. Some come off please juice. Come off please. Come off please. Come off please. Come on guys. Square me away. The last thing I want to do is apply heat to that, because there's a bearing in the middle of there, and the last thing I want to do is melt that. Not cool. So we'll let that eat. We'll let that sit for a little bit. Let that get involved, and then take the flywheel off. The flywheel's not bad condition, to be honest. The fascia, anyway, a little bit could do with getting turned, but I think I'll just get that rust off as best as I can. Just a light abrasive just to get it off. And yeah, I'll catch up with you in a bit. I almost forgot as well. So I did some work in the engine bay. Bit sketchy. Which I forgot to tell you about. So if you all remember the water pump, which was junk, I did away with the water pump, got the new one in there, it's on there, it's ready to rock out with its cock out, it's in there like swimwear, it's ready to go. In tandem with that, sketchy, got the alternator in. This isn't a modern alternator, this is a refurbished alternator. The guy, oh shit, he's in Buckley near Mould. Lovely guy, little independent chap, anything alternator, he's the guy. Absolute king of alternators. Cheap, lovely bloke, easy to talk to, and he's got like a million bits for a million different alternators. If you've got an old Jenny or an old alternator that you want to keep rather than replace, take it to him. I'm really sorry, I cannot for the life of me remember. I'm going to put him down in the description. Give him a shout. Genuinely give him a shout. Lovely guy. He's not sponsoring. He's not like a plug or anything, but it's just a small independent bloke, and he's really good at what he does. So yeah, that's in there. Got a new belt for it. I have the tensioner. I have a tensioner which I've borrowed off. Oh, stay there. Borrowed off something, but I'm going to have to add to it to get it to fit. It's just not quite going to reach. So I need to add on to that, but I've got no gas for the welder, so I can't add to that just yet. But that's what I've got in there. Next stage for inside the engine bay is going to be, I've got the replacement radiator to go in, although it's got a leak, a weep. So I need to fill that up full of water, find the weep, and then solder that shut, radiator in. I need a new fan, which is a bit of a bugger. Sorry for the lighting, but I dropped that battery down here and it's knackered the fan. I know, could have been avoidable, but I'm an idiot, so welcome to the channel. Once fan's replaced, new radiator in, and I can start plumbing up all the hoses. You can see now, never see that again. You can see now the different hoses and pipes. There's a steel one there, steel S-bend look. And it got to the point where there's another steel one down here. It just got to the point where I thought I was going to do it myself and make new ones, and I just thought it would just be easier if I could just go and buy some. Unfortunately, yeah, I don't like doing that. I really, really don't like just buying and just going and just throwing money at stuff. But again, like I said, some stuff, it's going to need it. I'm going to have to. You will have to. It's like using tyres from the 70s. You just can't. You're just going to have to get new tyres, man. All right? It's the same. Anything rubber or anything usable or like I said, consumable, like bearings or anything like that, once they go, you can't fix that shit. You've got to replace it. The electronics are still looking at me like I owe them money. But I'm not going there until the end. I'm not touching them. I don't want to touch them because look at this fuse box. Just the look of it. I mean, there's no lid on it. Usually, there's a lid that tells you what each one means. I could probably find that information online. Meep, meep. So, I mean, just looking at it, yeah, I mean, just the wiring in general is going to be a bit of a nightmare. But when I cross that bridge, when I'm happy, things are running and working, and next part is getting things legal, then I'll attack it then. I'll get a wiring diagram off the internet, or I'll go on to SimWeb. Oh, if you've got a Scimitar, get on SimWeb. Mwah, banging. And all the guys on there, lovely. Honestly, I've been, you know, I've done a few different cars now. Jensen Healy's, MGB GT. I've done a Triumph Spitfire now. The guys from the Reliant world have been nothing but helpful. Really, genuinely nice fucking guys. And would love to chat to you about it. And it's great for me because I love to talk. You might have noticed that I love to talk absolute shit all the time. So yeah, they're great bunch of guys from what I've seen. I mean, but yeah, the different clubs have been, I've had different experiences with different clubs. I think I might actually join this one. Like the Jensen Healy guys are really good. There's a lot of money there. But the Spitfire guys were pretty weird. But I mean, we're all fucking pretty weird, aren't we, really? But yeah, these guys, I might actually join this club because everyone I've spoken to has been really supportive and great. And plus it does help that I'm actually keeping this one original. So yeah. Right, what am I doing now? I can't remember. Can you remember? What the fuck am I doing now? Oh, I need to get down first. So I've got some things I wanted to show you. First was the state of the old back plates for the headlights. I mean, look, they're just dust, really, non-existent and crusty. And the new ones I got, which I'm quite pleased with. I mean, it's quite a bit more money, but they're plastic, so they'll last. You get the rubber gaiter, you get the screws and the fixing plates for them, you get the adjustment screws as well, the chrome, all in one unit. 24 quid each. And the rubber gaiter as well, the weather strip. So I mean, I'm quite happy with that. They're 24 quid each, and yeah, I had to fork out 100 quid for 4 of them. If the car didn't have 4 bloody headlights, it wouldn't be a problem, but there we go. So that's that. So I wanted to show you the water hose kit. So the metal pipes are savable in that, but I'll show you why I bought these and why I wouldn't have been able to make them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different dimensions, 6, 7 big to small, 8, 9, 10 different dimensions on that. I could have made these, I could have, but it's the geometry of them I'm not going to be able to replicate properly, and eventually would have ended up trying to use something like this and then creating a kink which would just restrict water flow. So that's why I decided to splurge and buy them. It was eye-wateringly expensive for bits of rubber, but needs must. Can't see any bearings. There's no like Lego or Meccano or anything in there that shouldn't be so far. Yeah, cool. So I'm going to drop the sump, I'm going to take this off and have a look, because upon closer inspection it looks like it's been done. It looks like there's a new seal in there. And I can't see it leaking, so it could be potentially the gasket on the sump. So I'm going to take the sump off anyway, degrease it, clean the whole thing up, have a look on the inside of the engine, because I've had a look at the rockers, I've had a look at there, very clean, happy with that. I want to have a look at the bearings and I want to have a look at the big end. So I'll just wait 24 years for that to drain and then we'll crack on. There's a special, like a plastic cone that goes over here that helps you slide the new seal on without knackering it up. But I don't want to get there just yet because I feel like it could be this. Anyway, while I've got you, I was also looking at this. I was speaking to a mate of mine, Dave, And he said not to bother. He said if you're going to get a gasket set for this and separate all that, don't fucking go there. He said it's an absolute mission and you'll never get it all back together again how it was. It'll ruin your weekend. I mean, I've done Triumph gearbox. I've done a Triumph gearbox before with great difficulty, but it was doable. But I'm sort of inclined to take his advice. I don't want to do any more than I need to. But what he said was separate it, just loosen the bolts off and get your screwdriver in there, just a couple of mils, squirt a load of ATV in there and then sandwich them back up. That's your best bet. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Also, while I've got you here, there's a little bit of extra play in there. You can see where that's, I think there's a piece missing from the linkage. See in there? And also here as well. There's quite a bit of play in there. You can see that travel there. And also, while I was here, you spotted it as well. What the fuck is going on here? Instead of a split pin, just get a bit of twine in there, guys. Yeah, nice. So after taking one of the caps off the big end off, looks okay. A little bit gritty for my liking, but not bad. No copper showing on the bearing, so they're not worn excessively. Like normal wear, you can see it's been a bit gritty in there. Big no-nos that I'm getting, look at all that on there, so I'm going to have to take this oil pickup out and I need to soak that in petrol, dissolve all that crud. And then in here there's bits of just chunks of stuff at the bottom, but it's not metallic, it's just old oil I think. So not too bad, glad I had a look. So I need to take it all off, give it a big old clean, change the oil filter, new oil, put that cap back on. Job's a good one. It's a good job I went in there really, to be honest. What am I doing? Right, so now I'm happy with that. I'm going to put this big end cap back on. Now it's always important that they go on the same way that they came off, and the same bolts go in the same holes, and that you always oil it or engine assembly lube it when you put it back on. Because when the engine's made and there's a break-in process, every single component of this engine will wear with its neighbour to the point of which it becomes its own functioning machine. Every part is worn together to work in concert with its next counterpart. So it's always important that you put things back exactly the same way. Also, these are, if you'll remember, these are supposed to be torqued up to a specific setting. So I'll just set my elbow to like 65 foot-pounds. Yep. And just make sure they're nice and taut. Or as my dad calls it, FT, which means they're fucking tight. Click clack, click clack. Yeah, that should do us. Look at that. Just neglect, I suppose. Just old oil. Look at all this chunks of gunk. All the old gasket as well. It's like been repaired about 19 times with like a turno, never shift, never leak gum. So all that needs to come off. All this needs to be cleaned, petrol, diesel, give it a good degrease, get it nice and clean, get it back on the car. So yeah, I'm glad that I've done came today, and I've delved a bit deeper than I wanted to dig, but at least we got quite a bit done. So I've got all new hoses to put on. I've got the new water pump on the new alternator on. I've got, what else? New radiator to put on, the lights to put in. I've got the gearbox to seal and put back together, the gear linkages to repair, and then I need to decide whether or not I want to do the oil seal on the back of the engine, because I'm quite content that it's been done. And then I need to put it all back together, new gaiter for the clutch slave, and then it's just putting it all together. So yeah, not too bad. All I need is a good weekend now where I've got nothing to do, nothing planned, where I can just go to town on it, really. That's it. I'm quite pleased that I've had a look inside the sump, and I'm quite pleased with what I've seen. I'm not getting very big no-nos. Need to take that oil pickup off and clean that out. Just needs a good clean out, put back together. So, without further ado, I think that's going to do it for this week. So, thank you very much for watching. For this year, what I've got planned for this year is I've got the Llandudno Transport Festival, which is mega. That's planned for end of April, I think it is, near May. I'm sure it is. I've got loads planned. Shrewsbury Steam Rally. I've got loads of other ones as well planned. So I'll keep you in the loop. I'll take you along with me. I'm going to take my Jensen Healey to that one in Llandudno. Dad's going to take his Volvo P1800, and I'll take you with me as well. What else? I've got a lot planned, and I want to get that finished before summer. Definitely before summer. I want that done driving by summer. So yeah, that's the plan. Happy New Year. I'm sorry it's took me a while to start up again, but I'm on it. I'm on the case. I'm getting there. Give me a chance. If you do want to have a look at some of my earlier videos where I did have the time to edit stuff properly and spent a lot of time doing it, go and have a look at first couple of videos. There's Shrewsbury Steam Rally. Have a look at that video. Richard Hammond's in that one as well. And have a look at my bonnet repair, Jensen Healey bonnet repair. There's a crash in that as well, so a little bit, it's funny, but yeah, points to avoid in that video. So go and have a look at some of my older stuff. If you like this, give me a like. If you want to see more of this, let me know. And if you don't like me, let me know so I can change. Because I mean, you know, I just want everyone to be happy, okay? So right, that's it. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Smile.